Hey, my name's Liam, and welcome back to the Stardew Valley playthrough. This season, I'm focusing on improving my relationship with Harvey, and I'm planning on upgrading my tools in preparation for spring and a new year. I'm also planning on getting a building or two from Robin, so we'll see how that goes. And mostly, it's just about setting things up for the future. So, let's jump right in. On the first day, I did my regular rounds of collecting forage in order to craft some wild winter seeds. Then, as I ran through the town, I debated on which job I should pick. On one hand, I could go to the mines, and on the other hand, I could go to the mines. In the end, I decided to go to the mines to kill some ghosts for the wizard. I collected some forage before donating the scapula to the museum, and this earned me a sloth skeleton fragment. I went to Clint and collected my gold watering can, which I had upgraded last season. Back at the house, I placed my sloth skeleton fragment against the wall. I didn't manage to find the forage I needed to craft those wild seeds, so I just made my way to the mine where I started to look for ghosts. As I searched the area where the bones are, I encountered quite a few bony boys. I also managed to find plenty of frozen geodes, as well as a diamond in this little geode rock. But even after scouring the entirety of the skeleton zone, I found no ghosts. So I hopped on the minecart, back home, and went to bed. On the morning of day 2, I received a letter from Robin telling me about the new wood chipper she had in stock, which could help my wood problem by allowing me to turn hardwood into regular wood. I think they're kind of expensive though, so I'm glad I spent most of last season gathering wood in preparation for winter. I went into town and accepted a quest to mine some copper for Clint. I went over to the forge and got Clint to break open my geodes, and lo and behold, I got 2 ancient drums. That evening, I went to the mines and quickly gathered all the copper ores that Clint had requested before heading deeper into the mine to search for those ghosts. While I was down there, I even managed to find not 1, but 2 glow rings on the same floor. I didn't manage to find any ghosts though, so I scurried back home and went to bed. The next day I found some sashimi in my mailbox. It was from Linus, so I'm pretty sure this spent the night in my mailbox and that it probably came out of the trash somewhere. Not that I'm going to shame him for it, I dig in the trash all the time. I went into the bat cave where I found plenty of fruits as well as a few apricots. On my way to donate the apricot to the community center, I spotted this little shadow guy. I spied out his path and found him hiding in the bushes. Now, with this magnifying glass, I'll be able to find secret notes, which offer a little bit of story progression, as well as access to special items. After the encounter, I went to the community center and donated my apricot. While doing my rounds, I finally managed to find a snow yam, so I headed back to the center and completed the winter forage bundle, which rewarded me with some wild seeds. This also completed the crafts room. This earned me a 2nd star and brought me 1 step closer to completing the community center. I went over to Clint and turned in the ores he had requested. Back at the farm, I planted my wild seeds and watered them. Then I went over to the mines, where I did actually find a ghost, but it didn't drop any ectoplasm. That night, the Junimos repaired the bridge that led to the quarry. On day 4, I went to town, where I accepted a 2nd quest to mine copper from Clint. While running through the secret woods, I managed to find my first secret note. It says something about a missing necklace near the bathhouse, so I'll have to make some time to look for that. It doesn't say who it belongs to though, so I'll have to figure that out myself. That afternoon, I went to the quarry and cleared it of all the ores and gems. In the process, I found a secret note that spoke about all the bachelors in the valley. Over at the mines, I found a 3rd secret note about special orders in the Stardrop Saloon. I mined all the copper I needed before heading to the lower floors, where I found a ghost who didn't drop any ectoplasm. I found another note that spoke about something hidden behind the community center, and called it quits when I couldn't find another ghost. The next day, I followed the instructions on the secret note and looked behind the community center. There I found this little lmno statue. He would make a lovely addition to my growing collection back at the farm. In town, I gave Harvey a gift, which he was allergic to again. Over at Clint's, I turned in the ores I'd collected. While running past the traveling merchant, I had a thought. What if I pet her pig? So I gave it a try, and he actually makes a sound. Moving on, back at the farm, I placed my little lmno statue among all my tree saplings. Hopefully this looks alright in the end. That evening at the mines, I managed to find a ghost, and of all things, he dropped a fish, but no ectoplasm. I managed to find another ghost, but he dropped nothing, but I did manage to find this cryptic note. I also managed to find a dwarf scroll and 3 more ghosts, but no ectoplasm. The next day, I got a request from Clint to give Emily an amethyst. In town, I gave a gift to Harvey, one that he actually liked this time. And I accepted a quest to kill some crabs. Yay, more mine-related rubbish. Over at the museum, I donated my dwarf scroll, which completed the set of 4 and rewarded me with a dwarvish translation guide. This means I can now speak to and understand the dwarf over at the mines. I had a look through the dwarf's stock and bought this recipe. I bought this recipe for weathered floors. While at the mines, I managed to find plenty of ghosts as well as a lot of secret notes revealing information like the code for the mermaid performance and other cryptic things, but no ectoplasm. At this point, I've lost all hope of finding it. The next morning, I found Pierre at my door. He did some shameless self-promoting and even resorted to bashing his competitors as a way of advertising. What even is this guy? In town, I found a lucky lunch in the trash. Remember when I needed to complete a bundle to get the last one? Good times. While running through the forest, I found a warp totem, and I also realized that I've been focusing so much on finding these freaking ghosts that I've been neglecting my crops. I hate ghosts! I planted some more crops to make up for lost time and finally got back to watering them. I went to the mines one last time and desperately searched for some ghosts. None of them dropped any ectoplasm. So before it got too late, I went home and smelted some ores. I wasn't even able to hunt for any crabs while I was there, so it just turned out to be a major disappointment. On day 8, it was the Festival of Ice, but seeing as how I'm not allowed to do any fishing, and the only thing to do at the festival is fish, I'm just not going to go to that. Instead, I spent some time digging through the trash while no one was around. After all my trash diving, I decided to follow the instructions laid out on this secret note. After getting a little confused here and there, I managed to find the destination and spoke to someone in the seat of the Joja truck. Turns out he's after a rabbit foot. I'm not sure I can get one without farming, but I'll see what I can do. Might be able to use the traveling merchant for that. That evening, I spent some time searching the area around the bathhouse for the missing necklace. At this point, I don't really know how to find it, but I did get plenty of snow yams in the process, so that's something. On the morning of day 9, I gave Harvey some holly. I then accepted a quest to deliver a winter root to Demetrius. I donated this little prehistoric something whatever that I found yesterday to the museum. And over at the woods, I found lots and lots of holly and was harassed by these little slime creeps. For the rest of the evening, I worked on a little area between my smelting setup and the rows of trees near the northern entrance of the farm. I wanted to create a little spot where I could put all my lightning rods without them seeming so out of place. And I'm using the new weathered flooring to see how it all looks. So far, I think it looks good, and once these mahogany trees are grown, I think it'll look okay. On the morning of day 10, I did some clearing over at the quarry before heading over to Robin's. And outside her house, I found my first dinosaur egg. What the heck? This is great! I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'll think of something. Still, I'm very excited about this. I think it's pretty lucky to find it at all, really. Anyway, I gave Demetrius his winter root and claimed my monies. I finally got round to giving Emily that amethyst at Clint's request, and that's all for day 10. On day 11, I went over to Robin's where I purchased a recipe to craft crystal paths, as well as 2 ornate lamps. I had this idea to just redo all the paths on the farm to make them feel a little less structured and more sort of, I guess, like whimsical and magical. I hope that makes sense. But if it doesn't, I'll just show you. For the rest of the evening and all the way up until midnight, I began to rearrange things on the farm. I planted some new trees to line the paths, and got rid of some of the wooden paths before heading to bed. I also placed my new lamps by my bedside, so they look pretty good. The next morning, I received a letter from the wizard asking for some void essence. It was also my first harvest. I picked all the forage and planted a new rotation before watering the whole mess. I grabbed some essence and went into the woods. I stopped at the traveling merchant and bought a tuna, as well as an egg. I did kind of get scammed into buying this, by the way. I thought it was 800 monies for 5. Turns out they're 800 each, which is actually just broken. Please nerf egg prices. I gave the wizard his essence, which earned me 1000 monies, so this kind of makes up for the egg fiasco. I went back home where I got rid of the rest of the paths and started laying out some new ones. On day 13, I gave Harvey a little crocus, and I spent some time faffing around on the farm. Honestly, I feel like it's not a great time to be doing all this reorganizing, because none of the trees I've planted are growing, so everything just looks really barren and terrible. I hope things really start to pick up in spring because it's looking pretty bleak right now. And that's it for day 13. Pretty much nothing. On day 14, I read my mail and found out that the night market would be starting tomorrow night and would go on for the next 3 days. So that should be a great place to find new decorations, as well as watch the mermaid show where I can put that code to good use. I collected my second mini harvest of forage and watered the rest. Today was also Harvey's birthday, so I ran over to Gus's and bought some coffee before making my way into Harvey's house. This single gift brought me all the way up to 7 hearts from 4. Back at the farm, I continued working on this little fire pit area off to the side of the entrance to the farm. Hopefully in spring it'll look all overgrown and foresty, but for now this will have to do. On day 15, I accepted a job from Gunter to collect bone fragments. I definitely should have done this one ages ago, and I definitely wasn't going to go for the ectoplasm again. Over at the mines, I did some bony boy hunting. I managed to find plenty of skeletons and made a decent dent in the number of fragments I needed. Over at the night markets, I got my complimentary coffee, which I immediately gave over to Harvey. I then went and enjoyed the show put on by the mermaids. I punched in the little secret pin I received and got a pearl in return. Just then, it got really late, so I went home. The next morning, I found a peach and a cherry in my bat cave. These bats are amazing. Up in the mountains, I found this ancient sword. Over at the community center, I donated all my goods. I'm very close to completing the artisan bundle now. While trash diving, I found an entire bowl of stuffing. I also found my second garbage hat of the run. I'm not sure what the chances of this are, but man, it feels good to be covered in trash. That evening, I did some more skeleton slaying to get those fragments. After that, I went to the night market and bought some seasonal plants and got my free coffee. And that's it for day 16. The next morning, I received some age-old pepper poppers from Shane for some reason, and I also accepted a quest from Clint to bring him an iron bar. In town, I accepted a quest to give Penny a cave carrot, and over at the forage, I gave Clint his iron bar and got him to break open all the geodes I had been hoarding. I got plenty of new artifacts and some other resources, so I took the artifacts to the museum and donated them. They earned me a little reward, which turned out to be this obsidian vase. That evening, I quickly grabbed my free coffee from the night market and made a run for it. For the rest of the evening, I hunted bony boys in the mines, and now I have 57 bone fragments out of 100. Back at home, I also reached level 9 combat and level 9 mining, so we're almost maxed out on levels for this run. The next morning, I got a letter from Lewis telling me about the secret gift exchange. My secret person is Shane, so I'm just going to re-gift those expired pepper poppers that he gave me a couple days ago. In town, I gave Penny the cave carrot she requested, and for the rest of the day, I mined and hunted bony boys. Once this quest is completed, I aim to get the golden scythe from the secret cave over by the quarry. Hopefully I'll have a full set of gold tools by the end of the year. When it got too late, I made my way home, where I made a bit of money off of some ocean forage I picked up earlier. On day 19, I found that my forageables were ready for harvest, so I picked them all and crafted a few seeds. I planted my little rotation and got to watering them. By the end of it, I had barely any energy, but it's looking pretty good now that they're all planted. In Cindersap Forest, I bought a tomato from the traveling merchant to donate to the community center. And back on the farm, I did a little detailing and decorating before heading to bed. And that night, I made over 31,000 monies from all the forageables. So far, that's the most I've made in a single harvest, and now I can afford all the buildings I'm after. The next morning, I grabbed some stone from a chest and a few gold bars, and went over to Robin's. I'm having her build a well next to my row of trees instead of all the lightning rods, and I want to try and make it look overgrown and old and cozy in the corner there by the warp idol. I quickly donated my tomato to the community center, then made my way over to the forge. I got Clint to upgrade my hoe before heading out to the mines. I killed a bunch of bony boys and this special little slime, but I didn't get all the fragments I needed, and tomorrow was the last day, so I'm beginning to get a little stressed out about not finishing this job like all the other mine-related quests. When I left, I read this mysterious little note that a ghost had dropped, so I guess I'm going to the secret woods tomorrow. The next morning, I accepted a quest to deliver some hardwood to Robin. I tried to give her the wood while she was building, but she was having none of that. I hastily watered my crops before making my way to the mines to kill the remaining skeletons. I found the lost fragments I needed and gave them in at the museum. This earned me 3,500 monies all at once. Not bad. I went over to the secret woods with some maple syrup, and this happened. that, the bear left me with his knowledge, and now all salmon berries and blackberries are worth 3 times as much. Also, as a little treat, I have been saving all my berries from the previous seasons to sell them on such an occasion. Tonight we will see how much they're worth. I did a little decorating around the well before heading to bed, and I made another 30,000 monies off of just the blackberries alone. Who says winter can't be lucrative? The next morning I received a letter of thanks from Gunter, as well as a recipe to craft a bone mill, which turns bone items into fertilizer. This might be useful if I can get some speed grow out of this. So, yeah. Robin had also completed work on the well I had requested, so I went up to her shop and gave her the hardware she had requested. And while I was there, I bought this map, as well as a calendar and a telephone. In town, I accepted a job from Clint to kill 50 grubs in the mines, and I also retrieved my gold hoe from the forge. I went to the mines where I hunted a few grubs, and when I went to bed that night, I saw this little spaceship floating up in the sky. The next day, I placed my new items around the house and got my first phone call, though it just turned out to be a message I couldn't understand. I went outside and saw that the first of my fruit trees were fully grown. These were going to make me so much money in spring, I hope. In town, I accepted a quest from Clint to get some copper ores, freaking classic. So I made my way to the mines where I continued to hunt grubs and started to mine copper as well. While I was down there, I found 2 secret notes. One was a hint about something special on the last day of the season, and the other was a map to something in town. The next day, the last of my spring fruit trees had fully grown, and now I could continue work on the little deck area. I went to the forge where I turned in Clint's quest, and while I was there, I got him to break open some geodes. I got plenty of minerals, which I then donated to the museum. I went back to the mines and continued grub hunting. I got pretty close to finishing the job too, with only 3 more to find. But it was pretty late, so I had to bail on that idea. When I went to bed, I saw Santa Claus flying through the sky. On day 25, I found Gunter at my door. He congratulated me on my contribution to the field of archaeology and gave me a rusty key as a reward. Now, that may seem kind of troll, and it is, but this key actually lets me get into the sewers. And that may seem even more troll, and it is, but the sewers are home to a specific shopkeeper who sells some of the more powerful and rare items in the game. So, at the end of it all, this is pretty exciting. The Feast of the Winter Star began, and I bought a few things from Pierre's stall. I re-gifted Shane his pepper poppers, which he loved, and after that I received a surprise gift from Pierre of all people. It turned out to be a blackberry cobbler, which is amazing. I'm a big fan of these because they can be used to craft a pretty snazzy looking shirt. The next day I collected my final rotation of forage and sold them. I zipped up to the mines where I killed the last remaining grubs, completing the job, and this earned me 6,000 monies on the spot. I took the minecart over to Clint's where I bought the gold pickaxe upgrade. In town I went into Pierre's where I bought some fruit tree saplings for summer, and I stopped in at Harvey's to give him some coffee, but instead he got me to sit in for my annual checkup. After all that, I gave him his coffee and went to the community center. I bought out one of the vault bundles, which earned me a lightning rod, and back at the farm I planted my new fruit tree saplings, lining a rough path leading to the greenhouse. For the rest of the evening, I worked on my deck area before going to bed, and that night I made 47,000 monies. This earned me the Homesteader achievement for making over 250,000 money. The next day I received a letter from Clint, thanking me for helping with the grub infestation. The letter also contained a recipe for a geode crusher. Over at the community center, I bought the last vault bundle, which earned me a crystallarium, and this also completed the vault room and earned me my 3rd star. I found Harvey in the museum and gave him some coffee. This brought me up to 8 hearts with him, which means only 2 more and we get the hot air balloon event. That afternoon, I took a few bombs to the scary mines and worked my way through, trying to get the golden scythe. I slowly crept through, killing these floating skulls along the way until finally I found it. As of now, one of my goals is complete for this run. Well done, me. Thanks, me. That night, the Junimos repaired the bus, so now I can start going to Calico Desert and Skull Cavern. On day 28, I collected my gold pickaxe from Clint. Now I have a full set of gold tools. Feels pretty good. In town, I bought a bouquet and went into Harvey's place. After sharing that special moment with him, I gave him the bouquet of flowers. I also gave him a cup of coffee while I was at it. Back at the farm, I broke this meteor after having it sit there for an entire year. It only gave me 6 measly iridium ore though. What a giant waste. I spent some time decorating the farm before heading to bed, putting an end to winter and the end of the first year. Now that we're at the end of this video, I wanted to say thank you again for all the support on the last video. I'm really enjoying doing this, and getting comments really gives me a boost. Thank you for joining me here. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed playing, and I'll see you all next time.